since our president, Steve Evans, is out on vacation having a good time somewhere around the globe. So I'm going to take over those responsibilities. And to get started, first we had one of our speakers drop out, Ananda. We can understand it because he lives in India and it's 6 o'clock in the morning for him. So once in a while, so we need, so I have kind of a speech that I'm going to fill in for Ananda for that. We already, usually at this time, we introduce our guests. We already talked to JR. JR is here. JR, you want to tell people who were not here how you found us and what you're looking to get out of this? Practice your extemporaneous speaking again.
Yeah, hey everyone. So my name's JR. Public speaking for me is kind of like, I guess historically, I'll say like my deepest fear. So just trying to face that head on. I have a couple of public speaking engagements lined up. I'm working on an NFT project where I'll be talking at conferences and a couple of mixers about our project and about my role in the project. And so I just want to be able to do that effectively. And so I did some research on, ways to practice, places where I could practice, and Toastmasters was, the biggest, best result, I guess. So that's why I'm here.
Right. Thank you very much, JR, and hope you get the most of it and free to join us anytime you want. Next, we are going to, I see that Lee is here. Great, we have a Toastmaster. I'm going to call next on our joke master, Lou, to start us off with a.
Thank you, Mr. President. Here's my joke for this evening. I'm the joke master. I dated a protester once. It was great. If I wanted to know what was wrong, I could just look at the sign. Thank you. Back to you.
Next is thought of the day, and the thought of the day was going to be Shar, but Shar is not here with us today. So anybody have a thought of the day that they want to share with us?
I have one.
Okay, let's go.
It's very simple. Whatever you want to do in your life, just do it.
All right. I think Nike said that, right?
I know it's a cliche. It should be a joke, I guess.
We should stop.
Thank you very much, Raphael. Next, we are all going to get a lot of opportunity to speak tonight. Seems like a skeleton crew. But next is, I want to introduce our Toastmaster. Our Toastmaster tonight is Li Jin. And Li Jin is an engineer and a gamer. And he comes to us from San Bernardino, I think, right? Where we have blue skies all the time.
We cannot hear you.
San Fernando Valley. I live in Woodland Hills.
Yes, Woodland Hills.
Yeah.
So please join me in welcoming Lee, our Toastmaster today.
Thank you, Karan. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to another exciting Toastmasters meeting. Before we start, for the benefit of our guests, let me talk about the structure of the meeting. The meeting is divided into 4 sections. The first is prepared speech. We have on schedule 2 speakers tonight, but I only see 1 speaker here. So do we have a?
Yes, I'm going to fill in for the second speaker.
Okay, so the first speaker will be Antonio, and the second one will be Karan, right?
Yes.
Cool. And the second portion of the meeting is evaluation portion of the meeting. And we have 2 evaluators tonight. And the first one is Mireille, and the second one is Kenzo. And the third portion of the meeting is table topic session. And the last one is the evaluation session from the general evaluator. Now, I'll introduce the functionaries. I can't run this meeting without the help from functionaries. So first is our timer. Please help me welcome our timer, Lou Hurtado.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'm back. I am your timer this evening. I will be timing you all thusly by using this trusty, super not complicated thing over here. We have speeches of 5 to 7 minutes, which at 5 minutes, this thing will turn green. At 6 minutes, it will turn yellow. And at 7 minutes, it will turn red. I will come back for table topics and evaluations, all the rest of it. I will be giving my report when called upon to do so. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. And the next is our R counter. I still don't know who will be our R counter. So any volunteers?
I have been volunteered.
Oh, okay, thank
I'm
you,
doing it.
Jen. So can you talk about your role today?
So I'm actually not ready to talk about my role. I know that I count the ahs and the ums, and I'm actually not sure when I start recording it. Do I start from this period when anybody's talking? I just, throughout the meeting, I will record the ahs and the ums, and then at the end of the meeting, I will give my report.
Yes, you can just start from now. Yeah, it just recorded the R count. Thank you. Thank you for stepping for fill this role. And next is our grammarian. Is there any volunteers for grammarian?
The grammarian. Lou, you wanted to do that? You have a word of the day? We're gonna have a double role for Lou tonight.
I will do my best.
Thank you.
Sure. So I'm back again with being grammarian. And today's word of the day is echelon. I will put it in chat. It means an echelon refers to a level in an organization or to a group of individuals at a particular level in an organization. The school's teams are now playing in a more competitive echelon. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Great. Now let's proceed to our first portion of the meeting, the prepare speech. Today we have two speakers, and the first one is Antonio, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I just got Antonio's introduction. And I just want to clarify that the evaluator is Mira, correct?
So actually, Antonio was going to be evaluated by Kenzie, and I'm now going to evaluate Karan since Ananda isn't here. But Ananda was going to speak first. Now we are swapping the speech order.
Okay, yeah, just want so Kenzo, you are evaluating Antonio's speech. Great. So now we are all clear. Antonio Henriques is a biologist and a senior business development manager at Amgen. He has spent the last decade helping biotech companies develop and commercialize all types of therapies, including vaccines, cancer drugs, and drugs for rare disease. Tonight, Antonio will share personal stories and perspectives on the anti-vax movement in a speech titled A Personal Shot. Please help me welcome Antonio.
Thank you very much. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It's a cold night in a farming suburb of Brazil. I am 8 years old and I'm walking towards my neighbor's house to return a pen that she had left at my house with my mother. As I get closer to her house, I touch the fence to try to get inside her property, and I see her dog approaching me. The memories of what comes next are still blurred in my mind. All I remember is looking at my right arm, seeing it covered in blood, and my hand with very deep holes, which were the results from cruel bites from a large dog. The next day, that dog was diagnosed with rabies. Rabies is a virus, one of the most fatal ones because he kills 99.9% of humans when they're not vaccinated. That was a life-changing experience for me. And what I can tell is that it left not only big scars in my hand, but it also gave me an everlasting fascination by the life-changing, life-saving powers of vaccines. For tonight's speech, I'll be talking about my personal experiences and 3 specific stories in which I talk about vaccines and infections and how I see the anti-vax movement in parallel with those stories. So my first story starts at a genetics lab. It's 2005. I'm a biology undergrad major, and I work part-time as a researcher. I spend my afternoons sequencing the genome of parasites to try to identify new variants. And I have to tell you that becoming a biologist is a humbling experience because you have to come to terms with the fact that all that you know can be proved wrong or challenged at any given moment. And as we know, humans do not like being wrong, even when we are faced with disconfirming information. When information is hard to access and we trust the authorities, that's not a problem because we can refer to scientists and physicians who allow us to make the right decisions. But access to information was changing at that moment in the early 2000s, and no one knew what the internet revolution would do to public health at that moment. My second story starts in the office of a pharmaceutical company. The year is 2012, and I'm a forecaster in the vaccines division for a pharmaceutical company, the same one that developed the rabies vaccine that saved my life when I was younger. Being a forecaster for a vaccines company used to be a very easy job. For example, if you work for the pediatrics portfolio, the number of vaccines that you used to sell in any given year used to match the number of kids, babies born in that year. It was inconceivable back then that any parent would risk their children's lives by not giving them a vaccine. But the new emerging trend was allowing parents to challenge authorities and question the results of any clinical trials. At that moment, self-proclaimed health gurus were able to reach millions through social media and were able to disseminate not only doubt, but also misinformation. No one knew if that trend would have any results. And when I was presenting my demand forecast to a higher echelon of my organization, I had no idea that this trend could at some point change the direction of our ever-growing rates of vaccine sales. My third story is a very sad one. So the year is 2021. We are in the second year of the COVID-19 global pandemic, and I am following closely the development of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, the first mRNA vaccines. As an undergrad biology student, I would never believe that we would be able to not only develop, but approve and commercialize vaccines in less than 5 to 10 years. That was not conceivable. But since I graduated, science kept evolving and new platforms and technologies became available. And to my surprise, when I saw the results of the clinical trials in 2020, I was very happy to see that we could potentially be able to have a vaccine in record time. I was one of the first ones to get vaccinated when my cohort was allowed to get the vaccine. And I was really happy when my family was also able to be part of the rollout in my home country. However, to my surprise, I discovered that one of my close family members decided not to take the vaccine for political reasons. And my whole family only discovered this when he was already sick. And unfortunately, he was put on a ventilator and he passed away a few days later. So what's the next chapter of this story of vaccines and infections for me? I believe that at some point I might leave the pharmaceutical industry and try to work in the intersection between prevention and predictive healthcare. I believe that the same trends that are now allowing patients to question clinical trials and challenge physicians could also be turned in their advantage and allow them to use their own data to make better decisions, understand their bodies in a better way, and understand which would be the future outcomes of any treatments. So I'm very optimistic about that. But what about the anti-vax movement? I hope that the next generation will learn from our mistakes, will have access to better scientific literacy, and also less exposure to misinformation. We don't know yet what the deep scars of this pandemic will cause in our society, but I am hopeful that we will be able to turn these painful memories into potential positive promises for a brighter future to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Antonio. Great speech. And next, before we proceed to the next speech, I see Lou already posted the word of the day. So Lou, can you talk about this word?
Yeah, I already went over that earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And next is our acting president, Karan.
You want to take a minute to give feedback?
Yeah, 1 minute for feedback.
So timer, can I have 1 minute?
Absolutely.
So please send your speaking notes to Antonio.
It's 1 minute.
Time is up. Our second speaker is Karan Bhavandi. Karan is an entrepreneur who has spent the last 20 years developing tools to help us be more organized and share our knowledge using digital tools. Today, he talks about marketing his tool. Let's welcome Karan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster and my fellow Toastmasters. I'm going to exercise extemporaneous speaking today. And it's very appropriate because I'm struggling with something. As you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a SaaS developer. And one of the most challenging parts of building a company is your marketing. How do you market your product effectively? You know, I've been challenged by this for a long time, and there are a number of important concepts that are out there. One of the best that I ever read was Simon Sinek, and he talked about selling the why. The why is what gets people hooked into your message. So I've been looking for the why of my solution. And I want to say a few things about marketing. When you're going through this process, it's a very challenging process because, you develop, and in your mind, you're pretty clear of why you're doing what you're doing because you most probably see some kind of a benefit. And for me, it always was about the applications. And to go back, what I do is content curation, right? So I've always been intrigued by letting people, giving them the ability to index information. So you see this bookshelf behind me. It's the ability to be able to, whenever you want something, knowing that you have curated all of these books in your bookshelf, to go and say, oh, this is what I'm thinking about, I need a reference, and then being able to go there and get it. I think this is a challenge that we all have online, no matter what line of work we are in. You're probably researching and you often see something of interest to you. And if you don't store it, it becomes very problematic in finding it. And if you just bookmark it, after a while, if you have a lot of bookmarks, finding that information becomes problematic. So I've been trying to find out, and there's a lot of tools out there. I don't know. Let me, by a show of hands, if any of you can tell me, do you actually bookmark information? Do you store and curate information? Is that a term for you on the internet or not?
Yes.
Okay. So pretty much we all do that. So, and the challenge is when you're trying to market, and there are products out there, there's like Evernote, there's Pocket, there are all kinds of tools. Browsers have bookmark managers. And I've been thinking deeply about what is it that I do that is different, and how do I come up with a grabbing statement that can pull people in. Sharing some of the experiences of what an entrepreneur goes through when you try to market something. There's always this doubt of, well, other people are using different things, and am I good enough? And this product is doing something well. And I think that if you want to be successful, you have to forget all of those things. One of the things that I remind myself is that, somebody a few years back took a rock and put a string on it and called it Pet Rock and sold 1 million of them. So you can basically sell anything if you have the right message. And for my product, what I have focused on is the ability for people to add meta information. And meta information is the information that you store about the information. So you store something, and the meta information could be the headline. It's also the summary of why you stored it, but it's also the publisher, the author, the content tags, the date, because those are all reminders and indexes of why you want to, how you remember something. So I'm gonna share a few slides with you, and I would love to get a show of hands on what you think and which one of these slides grabs you the most. So Lou, can I share my screen quickly?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So let me go in here and hide this. Do the present. Okay. So if you could just look at these things and then let me know, maybe in the comment, which one of them resonates with you and you would click on. Improve findability of your created media or curated media. The other one is improve findability of your curated research. Instantly index and share anything you find online with our curation tool. an easy way to organize and share the best of internet, a proven system for optimizing access to what you find online. Stop wasting time, start getting organized with our content curation tool. So these are the headline grabbers, where I want to pull people in. So I would really appreciate it if you just let me know which one of them resonated most with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karan, for this impromptu speech. And timer, can I have 1 minute for speaker notes?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's 1 minute.
Thank you. Time is up. Timer, are all the speakers qualified?
They did. Antonio, you came in at 6 minutes 58, and Karan, you came in at 7 minutes 8. Nice work.
Thank you. Now, next is our evaluation session of the meeting. Please help me welcome our general evaluator tonight, Rafael Macho.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster Lee. Tonight, we're gonna have 2 evaluators. The first evaluator would be Kenzie for Antonio and Karan. No, actually, Mirai for Karan, if I'm correct. Back to you, Lee.
Thank you. Yeah, you can continue.
I forget what I have to
Oh,
introduce the evaluator, but
first, timer, can I have the timing rule for the evaluation?
Yes.
sure. Lou, could you give us the rule for the evaluation?
I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
Evaluators, you will qualify at 2 minutes. You will, which is green light. Yellow light is 2 minutes 30, and red light is 3 minutes. After that, you have 30 seconds before you get quote unquote disqualified. Thanks. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Lou. So for the first evaluation, please welcome Kenzie for Antonio's speech.
Hi, everyone. Kenzie here. I am going to be evaluating Antonio for his speech. I think it was titled, I hope I'm not wrong, A Personal Shot. Is that correct? Okay. Wow. I think it was really amazing that you started off with your story. I'm sorry that happened to you, but it was very chilling and it really grabbed, I think, all of our attention. Like, I was looking at everybody's faces and they were just so engaged with what you were going to say next, and really, really well done. I like how after the story, you went right into mapping out what you're going to cover in your speech. And I think that's something I struggle with sometimes, is like putting those like, oh, I'm going to cover this and then this and then this. And I feel like it makes it a lot easier to like follow and listen to and kind of know what's coming. So I also like that it went full circle full circle because you were saying that you became a forecaster for that vaccine company that actually saved your life as a kid. I just love things like that when it's just like perfectly put in a package. But you had a very calm demeanor the whole time. You're a very natural speaker. The tone of your voice was pretty calming, but on the same note, like I feel like during your story, you could have added a lot more vocal variety. The wording and everything was like really good, but if you just added certain inflections, that could have added some more oomph, you know? I know it's a traumatic experience, so I understand. I'm just like kind of saying it point blank, but overall, very well constructed. I like how you ended with saying like you have hope for the future. And you even talked about like the future of your career choices and like what area you would like to kind of fall under. And I think to challenge yourself for future speeches, perhaps play with hand gestures and vocal variety. But overall, just a really wonderful speech and really great eye contact that was really consistent the whole time. So I look forward to hearing more from you. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Rafael, back to you.
Yes, thank you, Lou. For our second evaluator, we have Mirai for the speech of Karen. Please welcome Mirai.
Thank you so much, Rafael. So I am going to be evaluating Karan's speech tonight. But first of all, Karan, thank you for filling in the position. I know it's sometimes, you know, when you're not prepared, it's a little tough to speak, but I would say you're a natural storyteller. Every time you speak, I think you always have examples and you have a lot of great references, quotes, or again, like examples from the topic that you are talking about. So in this particular speech, I really love the right message solves anything takeaway, which is completely true. And again, I think one of the examples that you shared at the end was also really like, you know, making easier to visualize the whole story of keeping it short and sweet, but also having right and consistent message for any entrepreneur that can really help solve things faster. So I think that part was also really helpful for me to like visualize different examples that you're talking about. If I can tell a couple things, like I know you weren't super prepared, but having an outline of, you know, couple things at the beginning really keeps audience engaged and you know, they know what to expect from you. So it is something that you can maybe do in your next prepared speech. And second thing that I think which you can improve is the vocal variety. You have a very like natural tone, which is great because you're being super factual, but when you add like a little bit more, you know, emotion or maybe gestures, I think it keeps audience again engaged. And I love the way that Steve shares an example always, like it's sometimes not about the content, but it's about the emotion that you give to the audience. So I think that is something that you can maybe do, like implement next. But overall it was again great speech, even though you were, you know, last minute and trying to share all the you know content. So yeah, I love it, and I can't wait to hear more from you, Karan. Thank you. Back to you, Rafael or Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mirai. Lou, could you give us the report for the time? please?
Absolutely. Let's see here. Kenzie, you came in, everybody qualified, 2 minutes 37. Mariah, you came in at 2 minutes 49. Nice work. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Lou. That resumes our evaluation. So back to you, Lee.
Thank you, Raphael. Next is our table topic session. Please help me welcome our table topic master, Blake. Samuel.
Hi, thank you so much, Toastmaster. Wow. I've had 3 Red Bulls today, so get ready. Fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests, the purpose of Table Topics is to give members a chance to practice their impromptu speaking so we can one day belong to a higher echelon of public speakers. I will introduce a topic and call on speakers, and Lou will give you the timing rules for how long you're allowed to speak. Lou?
Hello. Timing rules for table topics. You qualify 1 minute. Yellow light, 1 minute 30. Red light, 2 minutes. You get the hook at 2 minutes 30. Back to you, Blake.
Thank you, Lou. Let's see. So I recently got a job finally after forever, and I was thinking about making the topic about work, but like that's boring. But my job has this patio where you can see downtown, and it's got a great view, and I moved my computer out there for half the day. It was really great. So I was thinking about making my questions today about California and how much I love LA and I love California, and I've always tried to make it a point to see more of it. So let's see, my first question will be, what do you think is the best city in California that you've been to and why? Genevieve.
Thank you, Blake. I grew up in California. I have been in California for the last 22 years, unbroken. And before that, I worked elsewhere, but I had spent time previously. So probably, I'm 54. So I probably have spent 40 of my 54 years in California, and in particular, Los Angeles. I love West Los Angeles. So it's hard to pick a city, except to say West LA. I grew up in West LA before the area was known. Now there's a West LA area in between Century City and Westwood. I used to think West LA was the entire West Side, but no longer. Now there's a little area called West LA. People who don't like Los Angeles don't know Los Angeles, because West Los Angeles is an oasis. You have the beaches, you have beautiful trees, you have all the shopping and the restaurants, you have a population of well-educated people, you have everything available to you that you don't have in other cities. And I, as I said, was thinking of moving to Boston, and it was very difficult for me to think about moving to Boston. Ultimately, I chose not to move. The weather, the roads, it's smaller. I love Los Angeles. I think that there are taxes, right? It's difficult to live in California with the taxes, admittedly. There's a lot of crime now. I have to say that we are having some issues with the crime, but it is a paradise. And I think that we're all lucky to live here.
Thank you, Jen. That was well said, and I could not agree more. Let's see, next question. If you could change one thing about your neighborhood, what would you change? Anwaya? Anwaya, did I say that right?
You're on mute, Amaya.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm off here. Sorry about that. I'm on mute. So welcome table topic master, fellow Toastmaster, and honored guests. If I were to talk to my neighbors or convince my neighbors, I probably would convince them to that let's make the world a much more better place, because we're right now in an area where we hear some bad news every day and then we don't feel good about it. So maybe we can try to make the world a more peaceful, more calm, and more cohesive world to live in, and be friendly with each other so that we are not quarreling with other groups or with the outside world, and we can be happy, live happy, and try to excuse me, try to work things out and not have problems like COVID, or have thefts, or assault, or scary things in the world. It's nice now that we got rid of our bad President Trump, and now Biden is on, and the vaccine came, and there's now a new variant like Omicron, and we are hearing that some people are having COVID and dying, and it's such a sad thing to hear every day. So I hope that as a neighbor, we can try to live peacefully and try to work things so we're not quarreling with nation to nation and quarreling within our environment, and we can try to be a more peaceful neighborhoods to live in, and we can try to work things out. We can do teamwork, we can do collaboration, and try to get a country out of trouble, like campaigning. Like I remember that one time my mom and their thing went, they're door to door to do campaigning. So thank you for the Toastmasters. I hope that was good.
That was great. In a way, we're all neighbors, all humans, we should be nice to each other. Thank you very much for that. Next question. Let's talk about food. I want to know what one of your favorite restaurants is, and I want it to be something that's maybe international, or something that that you are lucky to find in LA, because we have so many different cuisines here. So I don't know, like Thai food, Thai food here is amazing. It's not that great if you go to Idaho or something. So tell me about some yummy food you like in LA, JR.
Thank you, Blake. A lot of you guys are going to hate this answer. I recently moved back to LA from New York and cannot get Erewhon out there. I am also a new vegan, and so I love the options that they have there. I like the vibe there. I can do work there, so it's a pretty unique place. I could not find that at all in New York. Yeah, I have a lot of time left. Yeah, I guess that concludes my my talk on food, unfortunately. Got work to do.
You did great. You did great. It
Appreciate
is.
that.
And you know what? That's a really good point, because you can't get vegan food in a lot of towns, and God forbid you go to Europe and say you're vegan. No. I went to Romania once for a film. I was there for 6 weeks. So I lost 10 pounds when I was vegetarian, and that was even hard. So be thankful. Let's see, what's next? If you could live anywhere in California, where would you live? This is a small group. A lot of people have talked today. I'm going to ask Lou.
All right, let me turn this on so I don't forget. If I could live anywhere, well, hello, welcome members, fellow guests. If I could live anywhere, that's a tough one. I'm going to keep it to California because I feel like that's the deal, right? That's the theme. We just before the pandemic, like literally, it was January of 2020. Len and I, we went up the Central Coast and stayed in a little cabin, like Airbnb kind of thing in Cambria. It sounds just magical already, Cambria, but holy moly, is that place magical. It feels, we had deer out just outside, like just wandering around the front yard. And, you pretty close to the ocean and you see like these huge like elephant seals or whatever. And it's just, I mean, other than magical, the internet connection sucked, which was kind of a good thing. The cell phone reception sucked. It was terrible. That also a good thing in my opinion, as being just completely disconnecting. What else? The food was terrible. It was really bad. I did not expect that. It was like $18 for like a gray steak, something like that. So I was not expecting the food to be as bad. But if you're living there, you can go to a grocery store and cook your own steak. Back to you, Miss Table Topics.
Thanks, Lou. That's great. I've literally never heard of Cambria. I'm gonna look it up now. Let's say we have a few more minutes. So now my questions are getting watered down now. Those were my good ones. Now I got really dumb stuff. Let's see. Have you ever found yourself in a dangerous situation? In California, we've got earthquakes. Like Genevieve mentioned, there is a little bit of crime sometimes. Most of us have stories if you've lived here long enough. So tell me a story that pops into your mind, Mariah.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Table Topics Master. And I think it's a very interesting question that you ask. As I was thinking about it, we're living in this beautiful California, but besides crime and tax and all the other things that others call that, I think one of the nightmare that I was having, like before moving in, to think about the all earthquakes that California went through. And funny, when I first moved into San Francisco back in 2014, in my first week, I had the biggest I experienced the biggest San Francisco earthquake in there. And I remember I was thinking like, okay, my nightmare came true in my first week in San Francisco. And I remember I was sharing my room with an Italian friend. She was so calm during the whole moment, and she didn't wake up. She didn't leave the building, but I was the only one who left the building and literally screaming on the streets like, is everyone okay? Because I'm not okay. But yeah, I think that particular thing is coming from also growing up in Turkey, where we were exposed to a lot of earthquakes. And I remember back in 1999, there was an earthquake. The biggest earthquake on Europe was in magnitude of 8.2, which was a really scary. And I still, remember that like horrible times back in Turkey. And I think it's also like something that really makes me stressed every time I think about what if there is another earthquake in California, as a lot of scientists are talking about it time to time. Are we close to like having the big earthquake in California or not? But I just try to meditate before I sleep and try not to think about. But that's one of the, I guess, worst thing I feel about living here, besides all the other things that other speakers called out tonight. But yeah, back to you, Mrs. Table Topics Master.
Thank you. That was great, Mariah. I just want to mention too, there's this podcast, it's a limited series, it's only like 5 or 6 or whatever, but it's called The Big One, and it's all about earthquakes specifically to Los Angeles and California. But like, it made me feel a lot better at the end. Like by the end of it, you're like, you feel really knowledgeable, and you're like, okay, like even if certain things happen, like help will come. It's really interesting. Fully recommend it. Thank you, everyone. I believe that takes us to the time where we're done with table topics. So back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
You're muted, Lee.
You're on mute. You're still on mute.
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Thank you. Thank you, Blake. Very interesting topics. And now it's our final, or before I proceed to the final section, timer, are all the speakers qualified for the table topic session?
Yes, pretty much everyone qualified. Real quick, I'm just going to go through them. Jen, you came in 2 minutes 10. Anwaya, 2 minutes 45. You actually went over. JR, 42 seconds, pretty close. Lou, 1 minute 30, and Mirai, 2 minutes 18. Back to you.
Thank you. Now is our final session of the meeting, the evaluation session for the whole meeting. Please help me welcome Rafael Macho.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So tonight was a great meeting. We had some great topic to listen to. First, it was Antonio talking about his own experience and his view on the vaccine and what we went through all together for the past 2 years. Following that, Karen was having a great conversation about bookmarking, about the Pinterest, Digo, Delicious. It's something I've been wearing myself too. And tonight, table topic by Blake was having a great question about California. It seems obvious, we all live here, but we had some great insight. I really like when Genevieve said, people who don't like LA don't know LA, which I think is a very, very true saying, because yeah, you have to be in LA to appreciate LA for a while. We had also a conversation about the food in LA from GR, about his view on food in New York versus LA. And also another point of view from Mirai about earthquake here in LA and also in Turkey. And to that, we can listen to a podcast called The Big One that Blake is suggesting. I have it on my phone for years, and I've been always saying, I'm not going to listen. I don't want to hear about earthquake anymore, but I didn't know that it was helpful actually for people who worry about earthquakes. So I don't like earthquake. So back to you, Lee. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rafael. Now is the report time. First is our R counter report.
Right. Yes, I'm
Can I
happy
get
to
the R counter report? Thank you.
Yes, I'm happy to give the R counter report. This is my first time doing this after a while. So I did my best, but you know, it's been a while. All right, so JR, I counted 1 ah. Kenzie, 6 ahs and 1 like. Murray, 4 likes, 3 no's, 7 ahs. On Awanda, and forgive me if I have mispronounced your name.
Anwaya, yeah.
Anwaya, 10 ahs. Lee, 5 ahs. Antonio, 1 ah. Raphael, 4 ahs. Blake, 5 ahs, 1 4 likes. Karan, nothing. An echelon achieved here. No ahs. And Lou, 4 ahs. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen, for this very detailed report. And now, Lou, can you give us the report for grammarian?
Absolutely, Mr. Toastmaster. I'm just going to give word of the day, as I didn't do any good uses of grammatical language, any of that, because I was already overtaxed. Antonio used the word of the day. Blake used the word of the day, and Genevieve just used the word of the day. Back to you.
Thank you. Now, this concludes our meeting. Now I'll return the control back to our acting president, Karan Bhavandi.
All right, thank you very much, Lee. And thank you everybody for another great and successful meeting. The first time that we have conducted a meeting without Steve, who is our backbone, right? Anything that goes wrong, we can count on him to set us in the right direction. But I think we did okay. Let's first ask JR what you thought about the meeting. How did it go for you? What do you think?
I thought it was great. I feel like I have a lot to learn from you guys. I don't know how long you guys have been doing this, but you guys have skills. So I hope to pick up some of them from you guys and be back next week. I thought it was interesting that even in a virtual setting, it's still public speaking. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me on.
So one of the things in public speaking that you practice is some kind of a structure to help you feel comfortable and at home so that you can extend your speech or feel comfortable. So one of the things that you get to practice in here is the structure, that the structure actually helps you feel more comfortable when you're speaking. Excellent. So next we are going to, Lou, how are we going to do the assignments for next week? I think we have speakers. Do we have assigned roles for?
Yeah, I can call out the roles just so I have the list here. And then
Okay, right. Can you please do that?
you can assign people as president. Toastmaster.
Toastmaster. Who wants to be Toastmaster next week? All right, Raphael.
Table topics.
Table topics master. Mirai. Let's go with Mirai.
Speaker 1 and speaker 2. Do you have that list, Karan?
I know that he has assigned people already. So if they're already, who are they? Can you share that?
I don't look ahead for that kind of stuff. But if he gave you the list, just email it to me and then I'll pop it in.
He did not give me the list. Oh, I think he did. I think we can email people. I think Ananda is, and I think there are people on the list already.
Okay.
Okay, who wants to do the word of the day for next week?
I'll do it.
All right. Blake, it was between Blake and Jen. Jen, you want to be the joke master?
Happy to be the joke master.
Wait, hold on. I'm bouncing around. I mean, there's a list to this stuff. It makes it easy. Now I'm bouncing. Hold on.
Okay.
Word of the day, that's grammarian, right? So that's Blake. And then I'll count. Who was the next one?
No, word of the word. Okay, word of the day, Blake, and then Jen was
Thought of the day is what you're talking about.
thought of the day. I was talking about, yes.
Okay, so that's Blake, and then
Joke master is Jen.
Jen. Okay, got it. And then we're back up to chief evaluator.
Chief evaluator. Any chief evaluators out there?
It's really easy. Kenzie.
Kenzie.
Evaluator 1 and 2.
Evaluator 1 and 2. Lee wants to be evaluator. Evaluator number 2.
Lewis will do it.
Lewis will do it.
Timer.
Timer. One of the most favorite activities here. At
Really
Toastmasters.
important.
Yes.
It's a good one when you're new also.
Yeah. Antonio, do you want to try it?
I think I won't be able to attend next week. That's why I'm not volunteering.
I gotcha.
Um,
I can do it because it's pretty straightforward.
okay.
Grammarian.
Grammarian.
Len will do it. I'll
Yeah.
counter.
I think we can wait until next week and find someone. Our counter is
Okay,
can be an impromptu
roll.
assignment role.
Yeah. Cool. We just need the picture and then we're out of here.
All right, we did it, guys.
Yeah. Nice work, everybody. Okay.
Yes.
We did.
Count it down, Karan, please.
3, 2, 1.
Got it. Thanks,
Got it?
everybody. Yep.
Thank you very much. See you all next week.
Oh, let's, do we want to do Tuesday, Karan, while we're talking about it? Do we want to do study hall or nix it for this
We
week?
can, if people want to show up, we gotta usually ask the speakers. We can email people.
Was there no study hall this Tuesday?
No, we
No.
skipped it.
Oh, okay. Where is Steve gone to for vacation?
He's
Spain.
gonna-
Where?
Spain.
Oh, nice.
Ah,
We'll hear that.
fine.
comes back.
España. Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. See you
All
all.
right.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everyone.
But
Bye.